where the world is today, because there's just too much architecture to do for it just to be a limited, finite number of people, in the
That's right. That's absolutely right. I think the other thing, the way to look at it is that companies are somehow looking after their own architectures, well or badly, without enterprise architects.
Yep.
So before, the late 80s, when enterprise architecture became a named subject, people were designing companies and running companies, and they seem to work, some of them and not others. So the question sort of really then is, when you've got all this unofficial, informal enterprise architecture going on, because it still goes on today, what does formal enterprise architecture and people called enterprise architect bring to that party? Because they've got to do something additional that actually impacts the performance of the company beyond what other people can do collectively anyway.
I've heard of an interesting sort of analogy, which is a bit like a gardener. You can have, as you say, you can have an organization or have a garden without a gardener. But it will kind of, the garden will emerge and sort of evolve. Whereas the architect is someone that's sort of thinking about, the parts of the garden. And a bit like the other analogy that's used quite a lot of time, I suppose, is the town planner, isn't it? The town planner, and they're kind of thinking about what the street layout, street scene might look like, and versus the solution architect that maybe is designing the individual house. So I get what you're saying there around organizations will have architecture. It's just how much is someone thinking about the roadmap and the journey that the organization's perhaps going on.
That kind of, that's absolutely right. And actually, if you go to sort of town planning or city planning, if you take it out a level and say, what if the city, metaphorically, is the market, and our enterprise is one of the buildings in the city? So it's got to sort of interact with everything else going on in the city, rather than our enterprise is the city. I mean, that's where it came from.
An ecosystem.
That's where we get to ecosystem thinking, where our enterprise is sort of part of a networked ecosystem structure called a market or something else. And we've got to understand what role it plays in the market. Why does it exist at all? What does it bring to the market? Why does it bring that? To then figure out how best to design that enterprise. And as things come along, particularly things like e-business back in the 2000s and so on, is how do we then redesign our enterprise to continue to sort of add value to the market, to grow value from the market with that ecosystem type thinking.